This month, we're in New Albany, Ohio, interviewing my friend Sandy Rains, who's been the top broker in Ohio for many years. Sandy.
Hey, Patrick.
It's good to see you.
Great to see you too.
So we've been friends for over 20 years. Do you remember how we met?
Fred Gross.
Yeah, we used to go to our life and business coach, Fred Gross, who was great, and we even went to some overseas. You went to the one in Bali.
Bali was amazing. Yes.
Yeah, we had fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Learned a lot from him. He was great.
And if I remember right, you started out as a flight attendant. What did they call them then?
Flight attendant.
Oh, yeah. Stewardess? Or was it a stewardess?
Yeah, well, that's true. We were stewardesses too. Yeah.
And then you became a school teacher for a while.
Well, I was a teacher first.
Oh, you were?
Teacher and a coach. I did that right out of college. I was a gymnast at Michigan State and a physical education and health teacher. So.
Do you know Rob's mom was a gymnast at Ohio State? At Ohio State.
Oh my!
I bet you guys competed against each other.
We're
going to ask her. I'm going to ask her.
When I started my senior year, which would have been when she was a senior too, because she probably, wow, that's so weird. I was elected. I was put on a committee to the president of Michigan State because women's sports were not varsity sports yet.
Right.
And so that my senior year is when we became a varsity sport. And then I was invited back to Michigan State's gymnastics reunion, and they were all so glad that I started that.
So how'd you get into real estate from there?
Well, so I was teaching and coaching in Atlanta, and I loved it. I had a lot of success, but I was getting burnt out, and I was still in my 20s, and I was working till dark 7 days a week. I was just working all the time. So one of my gymnasts, her dad was head of personnel for Delta, and we were standing at the state meeting. I said, I always thought it'd be fun to be a flight attendant. He handed me his card. He said, if you want a job, you've got it. 2 weeks later, I interviewed with him and started 3 weeks later.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then how'd you get into real estate?
Well, so then you go from coaching, where I had no free time whatsoever, to flying, and I had all this time off. I mean, you fly about 3 or 4 days a week at the most, usually 3 days as you got more into it at night. So I was a flight attendant for 10 years, and my mom said, you've got all this free time, why don't you get your real estate license?
And your mom was a successful broker?
Number one, and yes, she was, at 76, was Businesswoman of the Year.
Oh, really?
Michigan, yeah. My mom started at 50 when it was
Your mom was
male-dominated.
Tammy Rains?
Tommy Rains.
Tommy Rains.
T-O-M-I-E, Rains, yeah. Yeah, they were very successful. She was such a pioneer for everything that she did. But she walked into, because at 50 she started her own business in real estate, and it was male-dominated. And she formed a group called the Brokers. Well, they called her in and said, well, Tommy, you're not working as hard as you, she was president. You're not working as hard, you're not selling as much as you did when we were at this other brokerage. We need you. And they fired her.
Wow.
She started
probably the best thing that ever happened to her.
Best thing that ever happened. She was like totally devastated because it was 3 other women. They were called the Brokers. She started her own company and
kicked their butts.
Kicked their butts. Number one, whole state of Michigan and Businesswoman in the year.
So did you go to work for her?
Oh yeah. So
in
1983,
Michigan.
I started working for my mom, and I was Rookie of the Year. I set a record, and no one had ever sold as much as I had, so I set a record. My mom was so proud of me at that. And I was doing both full time. So that was before cell phones. So I remember I'd get off the plane, negotiating a contract, find a payphone, and have dreams that night that I'd go back and the plane would be gone.
Oh my God, you must have had a lot of quarters in your pocket back then.
It was a little stressful.
Oh, I bet, but it's fascinating. So how did you end up in New Albany, Ohio?
So I was working for my mom, and my dad had got Ron Cadju, my late husband, got his PhD from my dad. They were very, very close. So Ron was coming, had gotten divorced, and he was coming to East Lansing to go to a football game, and my dad wanted me to go with Ron. I said, Laura and I are doing fine. We're not interested, and ended up getting tickets that day someone just gave us 2 tickets. It turned out being in the same section, and that was the beginning of
It was
Ron
kismet.
And Sandy, yes.
And then Ron led you to New Albany?
Because he was working for Victoria's Secret.
Oh, really?
In human resources and leadership development. And so we commuted back and forth for over a year from Columbus, DC.
And then he was in New Albany. And then,
Well, he was in Columbus.
okay. So then you moved here to be with him, and then did you work for another firm here, or what?
I did. I actually started out with a company, but it was very not like all like what my mother had. My mother was all about everybody supports each other. It's a win-win, and it was very positive. When I started here, the first place I went, it was very competitive. I found my mailing list on someone else's desk.
Wow.
I remember practicing a listing presentation when an agent walked in, a top agent said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I was practicing." He said, "Oh, we don't do those here." Now I beat him all the time now, but but at the time I was like, "Whoa, this is not good."
So was Ron living in New Albany?
We ended up buying a house here. We rented a house first.
And why did you decide on New Albany of all places?
That's a good
I mean, it's
question.
kind of chic, but
Well, no, we started out because my dad had been a professor. I'd always lived in college town, so I wanted to live near Ohio State because I had been in a college town where you walked to campus. Well, we'd go in those houses and they were old, and Ron would just go like, "Oh, are you kidding?" And I said, "Why don't you like this?" Because I'd always lived in houses and renovated. We came out here and looked at houses that were new, and he'd like, "Oh, this is much better." And it turned out that everyone from a lot of people, Les Wexner started New Albany, developed it. Most of your executives were here. So it just worked out. It was a great new community, so the country club, everybody was friendly and inclusive. It worked out wonderfully well.
Well, I was going through, don't ask me why, I was going through a YouTube video that said, what was the most expensive town or area in every state, and New Albany was for Ohio.
Yeah, it's very high end.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, and it's lovely, and
We love it here.
Well, what do you love about Rob and I were driving through this morning, and Rob was talking about he loves that they don't allow corporate signs to be huge, that they have to, there's sizes on it, so it doesn't hurt your eyes.
Right. Yeah, and it's not something that you're looking at all. Les wanted it to be a beautiful community. So you have big paths for walking and bike riding and things like that. And this is a big place. Pelotonia is a bike event for cancer. It's probably the biggest one in the country, and it starts in New Albany every year in August.
And it feels like the architecture mostly feels federal to me, some Georgian, but mostly federal architecture. And it feels like a rift on horse country in Virginia. Is that?
Well, so Les's wife, Abigail, was a huge horse person.
Oh, so that explains all the white fences.
So many people here that are into horses. It's a huge part of New Albany.
Okay.
Huge part of it.
And the architecture feels very East Coast to me.
Well, Les hired the top people from Harvard, architects, to come in, and they had the people that worked for New Albany Realty went around the country for planned community developments to make sure this was one of the top in the country before they did it.
Okay, so now you're the #1 team in Ohio every year in a row. How long did it take you to build up to where you became #1? So you started here in 99, 98?
98. I didn't know anyone but Ron. I hired an assistant right away, and it took me 6 months to sell a house. I was adjusting.
That was smart. That was smart hiring an assistant right away.
I mean, having been a flight attendant, I had to have someone at the back answering phones. So I was before anyone had assistants. I had an assistant in 83, 84. Always had one, because I had to have someone manage things when they didn't have cell phones or faxes.
So, because I know you so well, and we've been friends for so long, and your ex-husband I just adored. Ron was...
Late husband, he's not ex.
Oh, that's true.
He's still in my heart.
He's in my heart, too.
Yeah.
That was the wrong term. Really good man. I feel like he really helped you build this business because his talents were very different from your talents. Yes. And we've been to a lot of conferences together. We both have, Rev, Star Power, Dr. Fred. Did you go to any of the Money Matters ones?
Of course.
Money Matters. We've been to a lot of conferences.
Bob Bolin and Fred, yes.
Yeah, we've been to a lot of them together. And I know you studied with Robbins. What's his first name?
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins. And what was the thing that we were talking about this morning that you learned?
In business mastery.
Yes,
he
about
taught
Tony.
Business mastery. To have a successful business, you need 3-legged stool. You need an artist, an entrepreneur, and a manager. Without an artist, you might as well close the doors. And an artist is the person that just has the gift of making things work and spontaneous
And the vision.
make things happen.
And it's like a skill. It's like, how, even magnetism
I would
is.
say it's a gift.
Yeah.
Sort of the charisma, the ability to
attract. Yeah, that's what I meant by magnetism,
yeah,
I guess.
Same.
And then Ron was the entrepreneur, right?
Entrepreneur. Oh my gosh, that guy. He was the hardest working person I ever met. He would wake up, and our neighbors could tell you, he'd start blowing leaves at 5 a.m, make my tea. I mean, he was the only person I ever met that would sit up the minute he woke up. He would instantaneously just get right up.
And he was
all day long.
He was the type of person that other people could connect to very easily.
Very easily.
And also help you get to where you wanted to go.
Yes. He would walk around the office and talk to every single person on our team every day. He just was one of those connectors.
Yeah, I miss him.
Oh, yeah.
The third leg to that stool is the manager. And who's the manager on your team?
Stephanie Masterson.
And how did you find Stephanie?
I was working at another brokerage, and Lou Kleiber was the manager. And I said, I got to have an assistant. Of course, they all looked at me like I was crazy. And she said, well, I know someone that might be a good fit for you. So I interviewed Stephanie, who was 18. She said, I know I'm young, but we had a great interview. She leaves me a voicemail that night. I know I'm really, this is when she said it, I'm really nervous and I'm really young, but I promise you, you'll never be sorry if you hire me because I'm a hard worker. Then the next day, she called again. Said, this is Stephanie again, and I haven't given up. I'm just really hopeful that you'll consider hiring me because I think we'd make a good team. And that kind of, I knew.
Follow through.
Right. My dad fixed me up with Ron saying, the thing about Ron, once you get on something, you're like tunnel vision and go ahead. He'll close the loop behind you. So I always remembered my dad saying that with Ron, and then here was Stephanie, the same thing. It was amazing.
Well, why don't we bring Stephanie in now?
Good idea.
So Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you.
It's interesting, you were Sandy's first hire ever when she opened up a new company and had 0 sales.
Yes.
And you talked yourself into the job. Well done. I like the persistence.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you've worked yourself up from her assistant to what is your title now?
Principal broker and president.
And you run the company in many respects.
In every respect.
I don't
Yes.
think she would say that.
No, I think my main role is to oversee the sales and operations of the company. So from that perspective, yes, and I do the daily functions of what's happening and making sure that everybody's happy.
So, what was your growth cycle from assistant to your current position? I mean, that's a really huge step, but I love that it happened, that was promoted from within. And I love that Sandy gave you the opportunity to always step up to the plate. And she told me off camera that every time she's given you something, you've always finished it and accomplished it without any hassle.
Yeah. Well, it's been 27 years, so it's been, a long time. But what I loved about Sandy's perspective on it is, let me know what you don't like about what you're doing and what you do like, and we'll find someone to do what you don't like, and you can continue doing what you do like, and just expound on that and grow in that way versus spending time on things that maybe didn't give me joy as much as the other stuff. So I think the concept really worked, and we've used that with our staff moving forward.
So it's interesting, the roles before Ron passed were the three of you were the triumvirate at the company.
Correct.
With very different roles. Now that Ron is no longer here with us, have you had to take on a lot of his roles, or have you brought in somebody else?
We brought in someone else. Initially, yes, but then we hired a sales manager, and that has been a huge
She's sharp.
help. Chris
Yeah.
Harwood, yes, she's the best. She is the epitome of optimism. She just everything is, it's always a good thing. We'll figure this out. Very solutions oriented, and I love working with her every day. But she has really taken on the role of mentoring the agents.
We're going to interview her shortly at the office meeting tomorrow, because I love how you guys hire. I think it's really impressive. Yeah. So we'll talk to her about that tomorrow.
Yeah, it was like bringing Chris in and then getting out of my head what we do and make a process of it so somebody else could follow it. Because before it was just me and I knew what to do. So it was, creating the interview checklist and, having Chris go first and be the front line, present the commission splits to make sure they were on board. If all of that looks good, they meet with our leadership council, and then the final interview would be with myself, and then of course let Sandy know if she wants to jump in and join, and then we make the offer.
So in many ways, you took over Ron's role.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
In many ways.
There was so much that Ron did that I appreciated, but I just didn't have the bandwidth to do. So Ron was our community guy. He was involved with the New Albany Chamber. He was involved, in national panels and speaking and training. He had friends like yourself all across the country. So while my lifestyle doesn't, I think, allow me to travel as much as Ron and Sandy can and did, I took it from a local standpoint. So I got involved with the chamber, I got involved with the schools, I got involved with youth sports, I got involved with the things that are important to me, yet have such a community connection. And I always think like Ron would be really proud of this. And I'm glad that I'm doing it, even though sometimes it takes a lot of time and effort, but.
So I'm hearing a lot about community and how you evolved with charities and other organizations. Is that a source of lead generation for the team?
Yes, I think it always has been, whether
Big
it's
time.
Sandy's relationships at New Albany Country Club and working out and, with her trainer. I mean, all of those conversations can turn into a lead. And you just have to be purposeful, I think, about them and where you're spending your time. But doing it in something that you love, then it doesn't feel like work.
What would you say? So we were talking about the three legs of the stool.
Yeah.
Sandy is the artist. What do you think that Sandy excels at?
This will be interesting.
Well, Sandy can talk to anyone.
Let me just say right now, Sandy is ESTP and she loves compliments. So
She's waiting
that's
for
why
it.
she's just looking forward to it right now.
Lay it on me. Sandy's
You want to keep this job? Let me hear.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Sandy's a connector. I mean, I think she could talk to anyone. She can be very engaging with people. She'll ask anybody anything and they answer. And so I think her eye personality and her charm and her charisma, it's hard for people to tell her no. So she gets a lot of yeses. And I think in return, that's helpful when she's out in the community and she's talking to people and bringing business our way, that she's a magnet. She's attracted. People are attracted to her.
I would say that's true. I think one of your strongest strengths is your ability to attract people, is your magnetism. I've seen that throughout our circle of friends together, about how you are, especially when you're meeting people right away. One of the things when I've been doing this interview series that I'm seeing consistently are three elements, and I wonder if they're true for you. First one, that you know every listing on the market in New Albany, and if you don't, do you go out and see them?
Yes, I would say I know. And I mean, every morning when I wake up, I look at the MLS and
then
check.
do you personally go to visit them in person?
I used to do that. I'm not actively involved in
sales, so you don't need to do it as
So I don't
much.
need to do it, but I have people on the
When
team
you
that-
are active in sales, you did do that.
Very definitely.
When you were active in sales, did you put in long hours?
Oh yeah.
That's one of the biggest things that I'm seeing, that everybody works really hard. There's actually, I'm going to do more than three. Another one is that you're not afraid to pick up the phone and call somebody.
Well, actually, that was one of the ways she helped me, because I actually don't like to pick up the phone. But once
Interesting.
she would get me to do it, we shared an office forever. And once she'd get me to make the first call, then I could make the rest. It's that first one. Remember how it's like?
How did you get her to make the first call?
I was like a dog with a bone.
Oh,
Because it was on my list, and I wanted
and
to
you
check
wanted it off.
Yes. She
So
never
I
went home
would
with anything on her list.
encourage saying, like, come on, it's time. We gotta. This is what you can say. Here's the script. There's, and finally she would do it because I think she's tired of hearing me bug her. No, she likes the reminders, and it's just
Yeah.
the push. And
Well, because I have ADHD, so my mind's all over the place. So that she'd say,
You
"Have
too?
called?" I thought everybody knew that.
Oh, I'm being facetious.
Yeah.
It's like like you're in one of those shooting galleries and you're trying to chase down
Yeah.
whatever it's me. It's Sandy's running from one thing to the next.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
The
me.
the other thing is that almost all of them started working at a young age. Like they had jobs in their like teens. Like
My first job was when I was 13 years old. I rode my bike over to the Ye Old Custard Shop and applied and rode my bike home to tell my parents, I got a job.
What'd you
I
do?
got 25 cents an hour, and I made ice cream cones. And it was the hardest job in some ways that I'd ever had, because not only they would be lined up all the way to the highway, I mean like hundreds of people waiting in line, and then you had to set everything up, make the ice cream cold, and then when they were done, we had to clean out the machines, completely wash them out, drain everything, and put it all back in the freezer. It was a lot of work, but I loved it, and I saved every penny.
what do
that
you
I
think?
made.
What do you think you learned from your early jobs that have made you successful in life? Meaning, teacher, flight attendant, custard maker.
Well, for one thing, I actually really liked making money. I learned that from my grandmother. She used to give me little jobs when I was little at her place, and I'd get paid $1, but I had a piano piggy bank, and I would put it in there, and I'd have the total amount that I had. And every year when I'd go back to her house, I'd go count every penny and make sure it matched my receipt that I'd put in there. So that was one thing that was important.
It's interesting how these all. I'm seeing with every single one that I interview you. It's fascinating. My favorite one was Paul Grover would go at 6, 7, 8 years old and sell personal greeting cards door to door that would be inscribed with like your name on it. How could you turn down a 6-year-old boy coming to you selling? Of course you'd buy those cards from him.
Yeah,
So,
well, I had a lemonade stand when I lived in Flint, and I was like 6 and 7 years old. I would earn money doing that.
yeah, it's fast. I love seeing these.
But I was also very
commonalities.
competitive. I loved sports. I won the chin-up contest in my elementary school in 6th grade, and the arm wrestling contest. But I was a gymnast starting at 5, so it was and stayed all-around champion at 11.
In arm wrestling? Oh, and gymnastics. Again, we have to check with your mom about that, Rob. So, Sandy, what do you think Stephanie's special skills are?
There's so many, so many. Oh my gosh, she's such a hard worker. You absolutely trust. I remember Lou Holtz hearing him once say, if you don't have trust in a relationship, you have nothing. I couldn't trust anyone more than I do her. If I give her something to do, I know it'll get done. I don't ever have to even check back. It's unbelievable what a relief that is and how much that takes off my shoulders. So that is huge.
And then there's the loyalty
loyalty, oh my
portion,
gosh.
27 years. I mean, that's,
She was a baby when I hired her.
Grown together.
That's right. We've grown up together.
Stephanie, what do you think that you've been able to do really well?
I agree with what Sandy said. I also think I'm a big fan of having a positive culture, and Ron used to spend so much time with each team member and getting to know them and their families and what they have going on in their life. So I've worked hard to adopt that. So when I come in the morning, it's always checking in with the staff and how was their weekend and getting to know them better and really know that I care, and always having their back if something goes wrong and helping them find a solution to make it a win for the company and a win for them. So I think that trust, not only obviously with Sandy, but with the whole entire sales staff and the operations team makes a big difference and an impact.
I was talking to quite a few of the team earlier today, and Sandy, across the board, the first thing they said that they loved something along the lines of the team, which feels like a family, which has high values and ethics, and that everybody seems to care for everybody else, which isn't always what a family is, but that was impressive, and you can see it. And whenever I walked through the office, because it's a really nice big office,
Thank you.
Everybody was open to saying hello. They weren't trying to walk by you. It was, you can tell that there's a level of camaraderie here that's really quite lovely.
And especially with a staff who they're mostly introverted. So
Yeah.
you have to sometimes dig a little bit of deep to connect with them.
Right.
But they're all tremendously hard workers and, very passionate about what they do. And when it comes to compliance, they dot the I's, they cross the T's, and I think we know that we're in.
Which is hard to get real estate brokers and their teams to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's get into some nitty gritty.
Okay.
How do you guys generate leads?
Gosh, so many ways. We have a customer appreciation program that has been incredible. And we call it our CAP program. So
Yeah, the client appreciation program. There's 3 events that we do annually. One is a hot sauce event, so we have a private label hot sauce that we give to our clients. The second one is apple pies in July, so we have people come pick up their pies and connect with
and it's
them.
a big pie with
From
our,
Costco?
From
or
Costco, the Costco pie, yep.
and then we also hand those pies out for the Symphony 4th of July race, and it's really fun. That's a big deal. They get their picture taken with their pie and an award, and that's fun too.
And then we always do a fall event. So we've tried a fall fest, but I think we're going to head back to going to the movies. So we're hoping to relaunch our movie event this November.
Well, I would suggest if you want Rob to come out and visit, you do an Oktoberfest and promise some IPAs.
Yes.
And then we'll get Rob back here.
We're hoping to show part 2 of Wicked. We think that'll be a big draw.
Oh, will it come out by then?
Yeah, it's coming out the day. So we hope to it'll come out on the Friday, and we hope to get the movie theater Saturday morning.
I'm a huge Cynthia Erivo fan,
yeah.
and Rob bought for one of my birthday or Christmas, he bought us tickets to Denver. She's performing with the Philharmonic in Denver for one night.
Wow.
And
gonna be amazing.
so we're going to fly out for that, which will be
Cool.
nice. That was a sweet gift.
Yeah.
So we talked about the client appreciation.
Yeah, so 60% of our business comes from past clients and sphere of
That's
influence
substantial.
and those connections that we're making without, spending a dime, yes, on the events, but it's systematized.
60%. That's the highest.
60%.
That's the highest I've heard yet.
It's
Yep.
very high.
For a large team, that's
Yep.
the highest I've heard yet. And I guess that's because you guys are just so well known in New Albany as the source, the
And we
trusted
stay in
source.
touch.
Yeah.
We stay in touch with people. I think that's part of it. It's that along with.
And how do you stay in touch in addition to these events?
We have touch base with our CAP program, our clients program, once a month. We have some contact with them.
An email, a phone call, okay.
All of the above.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Birthday cards.
Now you used to, I don't know if you still do, you used to do ads with Barbara Corcoran. Do you still do that?
No.
Okay, and it was no longer cost effective, or what was the situation?
Yeah, and I think it just had its time.
Run.
Yeah, I
It-
mean,
it ran
people
its
still
course.
would
That's
look
a
at me
good way
and
to
say,
say it.
Sandy knows Barbara, and I still get that. And I remember Bob Boland in one of our things, he said they did an ad in the movie theater. Do you remember him telling that story?
No.
Oh, wow. He said 10 years later, they had not done it for 10 years, people say, oh, I saw your ad at the movie theater. He said it lasts on and on. As long as you stay in touch with people, they will remember those things.
Interesting. So Zillow, it's an interesting topic in that some of the top agents that we're interviewing love the Zillow leads. They're making really good money off of it. And the other half or so are over it and they're walking away from Zillow leads. What do you guys feel about Zillow?
The Zillow leads, we get a lot of leads, and so it's a lot of opportunity for our agents. We figured out the system, how to keep it updated, how to keep Zillow happy, how to be best of Zillow, because you get more opportunities that way. So I think it's something we're going to continue to invest in, but the cost of leads have increased.
Gone up.
Oh, yeah,
dramatically,
for sure.
because
but we
there's
track
less.
everything, and that helps a lot too. So if someone's not returning the call, they get taken off leads for the next time. I mean, we're very strict about that, and their percentage, we have a graph that shows how many calls they got and how many they responded. So we keep them accountable.
So they will take off leads if you won't be accounted for them if they're not returning phone calls?
Yeah, so every week our lead manager, who's also our director of operations, presents a report via email to the team. It's got every agent listed. It tells how many leads they've received, if they have any past dues, if they haven't returned any calls, if they haven't switched the status in enough time, if they have any forms they need to respond to. So all of that data is shared with the team. And if their portal's not updated accurately, they have until their next lead shift to update it. Otherwise, they lose their lead shift and it goes to someone else. So the accountability is there. It's visibility. Everyone can see everything. And then it's the accountability that you have to keep your portal updated if you want more leads.
Which agents are taking advantage of the Zillow leads? All your agents are?
Oh,
Because it's fascinating because the rate of return as a business owner, the rate of return on a lead from your circle of influence compared to a Zillow lead is dramatically different in terms of profitability. How do you look at where your money is spent in relation to what the profitability is for that specific lead?
We
we
just
watch it carefully.
track it. I mean, we get
on
a
our P&L.
yeah, and our lead manager prepares a report to let us know our return on investment based on our spend and our closings, and what's working and what's not. So we had like Ready Chat, for an example, was a system that we were spending and we were losing, and so we cut it out. But you have to give stuff time to gain
Yeah.
legs
Yes.
and decide. You can't make a.
You have to
quick
give something a
decision.
year
Yeah.
at
To
make
least
sure.
to
Yeah.
make sure, because I've heard so many stories where people do direct mail and nothing happens, and then the 12th month it kicks in. And do you guys do direct mail?
Yes. Yep.
And is that a good source, or it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
track direct mail?
Our best piece so far this year was offering a free home preparation consultation to prepare your home for spring, and we ended up with 4 listing leads. So we're tracking them when people call in.
Right.
We ask how they heard about us. So it's helpful for us to know, is this even working? Because you can spend a lot of money and it goes in the trash can. You don't know if there is any
We
return
track
on it.
everything. Even in the beginning when we started on Columbus Monthly, we did that for 6 months, and Ron was watching it like a hawk, and we got 3 phone calls and 0 deals, so we canceled.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was a long time ago, but that was when we realized, gosh, we better track the spend because it was expensive.
So I have found that real estate agents are not great at tracking anything. How do you get your agents to do that?
I mean, we have our staff is
Our staff,
is
our
tracking.
admin.
So the agents have to check off that they made the phone call, that we can see in the system. But in terms of the reporting, our staff is responsible for doing it.
What system do you have for accountability?
We run our business out of Google Drive, and so
I
it's,
love Google Drive.
yes, it's collaborative.
Free.
Free for the most part.
Yeah.
But so we have a Google Suite, so it's got Sheets and Google Doc, the slides, all of the things. So a lot of what we do is in Google Sheets, like spreadsheets that we've prepared, and then we keep updating those, and that's what we work from. But we can all access it at any time to get the most up-to-date information.
Awesome. One of the things that this is like so minor, but I think it's fun. What are your favorite apps that you use in real estate, or your favorite programs that make your life easier and that we would just like to share with our audience?
I mean, ChatGPT is like my best friend.
How do you use it?
Well, I'm a pretty good writer.
Really good writer.
And I'm probably known as, the editor around
She is
here.
the
so
editor.
People will send me stuff like, what do you think about this? And I can shorten it and, make it sound really great. But sometimes for me, I don't necessarily have that. So I'll create my idea or my email or whatever I'm doing and throw it into ChatGPT and ask it to shorten it, to make it sound more professional, to make it sound more compassionate. And then it'll, spit something back out to me that then I can refine from there. So it does take the personalization of the idea, putting it in there for it to fix it, but that it grammatically makes it correct. And it's my favorite app.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what other apps do you use that makes your team's lives easier?
Yeah.
Trend graphics I use every day because that tells where we are in sales and I'm a very competitive person, so I like to see how we're doing. And the head of operations sends me what was closed the night before, so I know what to look for and make sure it goes
Twin
through.
graphics, I'm not familiar with that.
Trend.
Trend graphics, sorry.
Have you heard of that?
Now I have, yes.
Oh, but just now.
No, I've heard of it
Oh,
before.
okay.
I didn't heard of twin. I was like a little confused. Sorry about that.
That's it.
All right, what else, you guys?
I mean, I love that, MLS has gone to an app. It's easy, it's convenient. Our keypad is now an app to get into the houses. So I think, kind of the common general runs that you use every day, you probably take for granted. But we used to have an MLS book, right, back in the day when we first started, where we would look for properties. And so all of that evolving, and
You are older than you look.
I know. So I think that, and then of course all the social apps. I mean, we definitely put ourselves
And you
out
guys
there.
go heavy on
Facebook,
Instagram and
yes.
Facebook Shorts, and
Correct.
we were trying to get some B-roll for this from there, and all their B-roll's vertical, so we're going to shoot our own B-roll tomorrow,
yeah.
which is
Yeah,
interesting,
yeah.
which shows that you're doing Facebook Shorts and Instagram.
Yeah.
So you guys you like being visible on social media through video.
It's huge, don't you think? I mean, it's one of the biggest
I think
changes.
it's huge. I just think it's one of the most difficult thing to get people comfortable in front of the camera. And we really want our agents to share their personalities. Like, they're all so unique and special, and they have a lot to offer. And I think that's what people care about. They want to see the real you. And unfortunately, everyone's very critical of themselves, so it's difficult.
Well, this is the line that Lee Brown told me, and then I believe it to the end. In video, you look like you do in real person. So this is
Right.
what you look like every day, so get over yourself.
Yeah. And some advice I got is don't watch it back. It's like when you leave
Yeah,
a
really.
voicemail, you don't go back and listen to your voicemail and delete
Yeah.
it and
It's too
re-record
late.
and whatever, right? It's just done and you move on.
That's what you sound
So,
like.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
That's who you are.
So the other element, Sandy, that you have been known for years is staging. That's a part of who you are at the core. Why don't you talk to us about staging?
Well, it's interesting because when I started in real estate in '83 at my mom's, it was just something natural for me. I started moving stuff around, particularly like an expired listing. I'd move some stuff and change it a little bit, and then the house would sell. And the owner would look at me and go, wow, that was a good idea. So I started early on, before anyone ever even thought of that, I think. Well, maybe other people did, but it worked for me. And so then I got here, and we started making some differences. And so I bought a house with a pole barn, and we filled it with furniture, and now we stage the houses. We had one house over here, and I love to tell the story. They were going to reduce the price to $950. It'd been on for a year with another agent, and it wouldn't sell. So they told their business partner, well, we're going to just reduce the price. We just got to get rid of this, because they were living in Chicago. He said, you got to call the Raines Group. He said, why? Well, they came in and staged my house. I had 3 offers in 5 days. So they called us. We went in and put $50,000 in it, raised the price to $1,025,000, and in 5 days had 3 offers, sold it for $1,075,000. So I have before and after pictures, and that's a pretty powerful thing for people to see that.
It's a powerful thing for people to see. It's a powerful listing tool, too.
Yeah.
And it's a very powerful, this is what we provide for you. Why would you not list with us? Are you crazy?
Right.
Now, tell me about the cost of staging. We don't have to get into actual numbers, but who pays for it, or is it a joint thing between the sellers and you?
You know the rules. She's the rule lady, because I can.
Yes, so we we have inventory available that sellers
whole
can
barn
rent.
full, yeah.
And then they pay a certain portion of the cost of the furniture to run it. It's free. Sometimes it's free for the first month, and then if it lasts longer, then they have to pay the
Whatever
cost.
the fee is.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And they have to cover the cost of the mover.
Yeah, they always cover the cost of the mover.
And you do some staging in-house from your pole barn, and then you hire out stagers sometimes too. What's the decision on which one you're going to do?
I think sometimes it's dependent on the space and the size of the house, if they need more furniture than what we may have available in our inventory at the time. And then sometimes it's a specific style or look that
That you may not have at the barn.
Right, that we may not have, that another stager has and can offer.
How do you feel, Sandy, that your staging has affected your brand? I think one of the things, New Albany is a high-end luxury market for Ohio. Did you see how I looked down on that then? And you're known for getting lovely properties here, and a lot of that is because of your staging. So how do you think the effort you've put into staging has affected people's vision of your brand or people's opinion of your brand?
Well, I've gotten that kind of feedback. I remember one time calling someone, and this lady said, "Oh, my daughter will be so glad to know you called because she loves to go to your listings." She said, "Sandy always makes them look the prettiest of any." And she had gone to the open house of the one where I changed it. And so that's funny, I remember that. She said, "Oh, Mom, you won't believe what she did to this house."
Well, I think we're staying in one of your condo that you own in town, which is gorgeous, and you decorated it, and it's gorgeous. So we'll probably show some pictures of what it looked like before and what it looks like now.
That's a good idea.
So I think that kind of shows how you stage and your taste level, and it's always been impeccable.
Well, thank you. It's been fun. It's something I've enjoyed. A part of this business I really like doing.
Yeah, and I believe that, especially at our age, we should be doing things that we really love to do and either delegate the rest or don't do it.
Right, I agree.
Yeah, and you might as well do what brings you joy and makes you happy and a successful track record of success.
Yes. I always say results are proof that you can do what you say you're going to do. Everything else is a promise. So when I go to a listing presentation, I show our numbers because they're always so wonderful. But then, because I said you can get any agent to come in and promise you everything, but these numbers are proof that we can do what I say we're going to. Everything else is a promise.
That's a pearl. That's a really good. That's a really good.
Strong. I use that so much.
Yeah,
I teach it a lot.
That's a good one. We all make mistakes, and mistakes are some of the best things, some of your best learning lessons. What mistakes have you guys made in your business that you've learned something from?
I think the big thing that Sandy has taught all of us is to always ask questions. And what happens to salespeople and myself is that you get into the moment and you just want to either talk or you start to make assumptions about what the other person is thinking. And so there have been times when I have assumed X and the client meant Y. And if I just would have asked more questions, I could have probably handled whatever was coming my way than what I was assuming, they were thinking or that they wanted to do or how they wanted to see the outcome. And I think back to the 4 Agreements, which is a book that Ron loved. And one of the rules is, don't make assumptions, ask more questions. So I think that's my biggest thing. And then with staff, if I'm ever going to give constructive feedback, I know now that I always have to come with an example. There have been many times when I give a general comment and they dial in and they want to know specifically why I'm saying that and where it's coming from. And if I don't have it prepared ahead of time and come with it, then it kind of creates this negativity that could not be there if I just would have come prepared with the feedback that I was giving.
In regard to the first one about making some assumptions, if it's like 3 o'clock or later in the day and I get an email from somebody like a client and it pisses me off to no end, I know not to do anything with the email, wait till tomorrow morning when my energy is higher, reread it then, and then see how I misread the email in the first place and assumed the wrong thing, assumed the worst from it.
Yeah. I remind myself, always assume positive intent. But it even comes down to pricing. I'll go in, if you're working with a seller and you think they want to list it for X, but maybe they don't. You just have to be conversational about it, show them the facts, and work through the numbers with them before you just decide that, this is what they want. So I think that's just always has been a reminder from Sandy is ask questions, be curious. It never hurts to ask in order to get to the bottom of something.
One of the things we learned from Fred Gross is setting goals. So I remember so vividly he had us write our goal down, and he said, and now double it. I went, double it? So I did, and we made it to the penny. So one of the things that we started doing is a shopping trip. They each get $500, even our admin people. So everyone gets to share in it. And we set the goal, and we do it twice a year. If we make our half year or year, and we take everybody for dinner and shopping trip. Well, that one year, I never dreamed we could make it. Admin people stayed late. We closed the last deal on New Year's Eve day. And we made our goal, and everyone got to go shopping, sent a big email out. But that has made such a big difference because we all work together. Where I went temporarily was so much competition between each other. People didn't even talk to each other. Here it's like, oh, you got another set? Oh, good. We might get to go shopping, and we talk about the shopping trip. So it's bringing people together, and everybody wins when you do
Working
that.
as a team.
As a team.
What did you buy with your last $500 shopping?
Oh, good question. I wish I would have just saved all my money over the 27 years, and I could have bought something really big and special. What did I buy? I think I bought a new bag, a new work handbag, yeah, and a wallet. But we've bought sunglasses, and I bought actually a bicycle one year.
It's been
kayaks. People buy all kinds of things, which is really exciting and special. And I think for the newer people that are getting to go on the shopping trip, their eyes are big and they just can't believe it, and they're really in the moment. And so it's
off on everybody.
Fun to really celebrate and watch those people. And this year everyone got an accountability partner assigned at our event, and so you have to stay in touch with those people every quarter to see if they're meeting their goals or not, and try to help encourage them. So we always make something to reconnect everyone when we get together. So
Awesome.
And we have a PMA award that we give out once a month. And
Premenstrual.
Positive mental attitude.
Oh,
and I
that's a little
started that one
different.
by first teaching job. It was an inner city school, and they looked at me like, who are you and what are you doing here? And the next thing we knew, I started a track team. We never lost a track meet. Their self-esteem, what it started doing. And they would do a slip for each other. We had a track star of the week. Well, we started doing that here, and it's really made a difference. The person who gets the most people handing in things, complimenting them, gets a certificate that we sign and say the PMA award of this goes to Christian, was one of our admin people. And he said, and I got to make sure your signature's on there, Sandy. But he was so proud and pleased to get that. And we announced it at the sales meeting in front of everyone, and everyone claps. And it's big. And some of my gymnasts will still send me it. I raised my children with PMA. Thank you for teaching me that.
Not Samantha, what's her name? It sounds like an alligator. Cayman. She's your marketing manager. I was talking to her earlier today, and she said that's one of the reasons she loved working here, is that you get to share everybody's goals and where their successes when they meet their goals. And that was nice to hear.
And it's really shared with the team. We do a team advance every year in November. So between September and the end of October, we build their business plans. We help them figure out how many sales they're going to have, what are the skills they're going to work on, what systems are they going to improve. And so they create a business plan that then at the team advance, they stand up and they have to present it to the entire team. So it's kind of their proclamation about what the next year is going to look like. They create a one word for the following year, and we share that. So everybody's bought into supporting one another, and they know about what their goals are and what they're after.
And a vision board. Everybody does a vision board and presents it.
It makes it clear why this is a family.
Yeah.
And that why there's shared values. So,
Yeah.
Stephanie, thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
We are with Chrissy Hardwood, who is the sales manager for the Rains Group. And we were talking yesterday about your hiring practices, and I just thought it was brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
So why don't you go through that with us?
Yeah, so we are big at reading here, and we have read several Patrick Lencioni books. He's a great author, and one of them is called The Ideal Team Player, and we really took to the theme behind it, and he speaks to people being humble, hungry, and smart. And we have adapted that to our hiring process. So that is what we hire to. And the SMART goes much deeper than book smarts.
Oh, sure.
Right? It's more of an EQ rather than an IQ. I mean, of course, both is great. So we hire to humble, hungry, and smart.
And how are you finding your people? Where are you finding your leads for new employees?
Really two methods. One is wonderful because we've been here for 27 years with a wonderful reputation. A lot of people are reaching out to us,
Which is great.
right? And secondly, it would be our agents and affiliate referrals.
And then how do you figure out if they're humble, hungry, and smart?
Well, you'll want to read the book as well
Okay.
because it completely describes it. But it's through really asking great questions in the interview process. And then you just really have to discern from the questions.
So give me an example or two of a great question.
Oh, so one of our questions is, and I just asked this yesterday of a brand new agent, tell me one of your favorite movie characters and describe how you have commonalities with that movie character.
Oh, it allows them to boast without being boastful.
Yes.
I bet you've gotten some interesting answers to
It
that.
really gets people to open up because they're
Yeah,
thinking
they don't feel
differently.
they're not coming in here like I so do. And,
Nothing prepared for that one.
yeah.
Another great one that we duplicated from, I think it was an Instagram reel that we saw, and it is something like, tell me something now about yourself that we'll end up uncovering later once you're here.
Ooh.
Isn't that good?
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, and it's almost like, tell me some of your weaknesses without asking it that directly.
Yeah, that's these are
Aren't they great?
questions.
Yeah.
Are you able to determine that they're humble with these questions too?
You can usually discern with
Yeah.
an interview if someone is humble. Not always. The other thing to do to help with that question is having more than one person interview, doing several layers. And then you have a few people looking into the same questions.
Do you do any personality testing on them?
We do. We do Myers-Briggs and the DISC.
Interesting. So, and you're hiring for sales positions.
That's what I do, yes.
So let's talk about the two. On
Okay.
DISC, what are you looking for? Not that you're always going to hire that personality type, but what are you generally looking for on DISC?
I love that you ask that because I'm not looking for anything.
Awesome.
All four personality types, regardless, can be an excellent realtor. We have all
It's
four
true.
types in here.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's true. There seems to be a lot of ISs in here, though.
there are.
Yeah.
They seem to be great team players. It's almost like they leave their ego at the door and they're ready to be part of a team, part of something bigger than themselves. And it seems to be a great fit.
I think Carla was a really good example of that, who we just interviewed. So, and what for MBTI, because that's what we look at on this YouTube channel. What do you get out of the MBTI?
So personally, I don't know it as well. Sandy and
Yeah,
Stephanie
know it
dig
inside
into that a little bit more than I do. I've really studied the DISC inside and out.
Got it.
Yep.
Got it. I like the MBTI because it gives you, it's like DISC on steroids,
Okay.
in my opinion. And you get to understand what people's motivations are, how to talk to them, what they're going to be inspired by. And you can't find that out at all in DISC.
Okay.
I think so. That's where I think it brings more breadth to the discussion. But I like, and anything else you guys do for bringing somebody on? Is there like, how many interviews do you do?
It will be between 2 and 3. So
And-
we start with me, right, as the sales manager, and I get a really good feel like, hey, should we take this to the next level? Do they feel like it's a good fit, and do I feel like it's a good fit? And then the next level would be meeting with 2 of our leadership council members.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Isn't that great?
That is a
yeah,
good
so
idea.
2 agent leaders within the office will also do an interview.
And then the third, if there
The
is
third
one.
would be like a Stephanie, Sandy, Carla.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, this has been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're here with Carla Ballinger. Carla is the top-selling agent in the Raines Group, and she's been a partner at the group since Ron passed away. And so, Carla, thanks for talking to us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Carla, what I thought would be interesting to share is that you had worked at another firm prior to joining the Raines Group, and you were doing whatever you were doing, and now you've become one of the top brokers in the entire state, working at the Raines Group. So what was the difference? Why did joining the Range Group enable you to become the success that you are?
Well, the Range Group has a lot of systems that are intentional, and they were put in place with Ron. We practice our scripts and dialogues heavily. We meet together at huddles once a week, and that's actually 5 days a week. And there was a lot of accountability that was held to a higher standard that you had to abide by.
So let's break each one of those down. So you said there's a lot of systems that he set up. What type of systems that help you?
Systems that helped me were from the administrative side of things. There were systems that you had to follow in order to get paperwork turned in, to create a seamless process. The admin staff always made sure that they kept things up to speed with their processes, which created for a smooth, seamless process.
And did the systems enable the accountability?
The systems, it did enable the accountability, and they did so because you had to meet with one of the owners to make sure that you were following through on dials, how many people you connected with, how many appointments you set, and the follow-up that you had.
And that wasn't happening in your prior company?
No, in the prior company, I was a single agent on my own, and when I thought about what I needed to do in order to gain business, I was to start calling people and cold calling. So the very first thing I did was locked myself in a room, I opened up the white pages, and I started with the letter A.
No, really?
Yep.
Wow, we still can't cold call in New York because of COVID policies. I don't know why it's still on, but it's New York. So another thing you started doing at the Range Groups was scripts and dialogues. And did Ron initiate that also?
Ron initiated our scripts and dialogues. He put us to the video library with the discs in there from all the folks from Star Power to listen to. And from there, our team was so small, I shared an office with a gal that we would script and dialogue frequently, and we would do it on different days just to shake things up a little bit, different sites to make it a little bit easier, more fun. And when we actually did our scripts and dialogues and practiced that, and then turned around with our clientele and used it, it was really exciting how it just worked and it came off your tongue so smoothly.
Any stories around that?
One in particular that comes to mind is the one where the person didn't want to make an offer. So in order to get somebody to make an offer, you tell them, let's go ahead and make an offer because we don't know what the answer is going to be. It's like when you go out and you go to a restaurant and you're offered dessert. Oftentimes you don't want any dessert and you'll say no thank you. But if somebody brings the dessert and sits it right in front of you, you're surely going to take a bite. And so we actually utilized those scripts on our clients, got offers in writing, and got offers accepted. And when we utilized those scripts, we would call each other and celebrate that they worked so well.
So I would say that scripts, a really good script is just a great story.
Yep.
And if you can turn the script into a story, it's going to be more palatable for you to do it. And what is the one because a lot of people would be afraid to be held accountable. A lot of brokers are afraid of scripts and dialogues. A lot of brokers are afraid of systems. And you might have been that way when you first joined the Range Group. How did you get over that fear?
Because I started seeing the success that came from following those systems.
Yeah.
But I hated every minute of it. I hated turning in every sheet that I had to turn in. I hated getting graded on it because I never felt it was going to be good enough. But at the end of the day, here I am.
Yep, and now you're the top broker in the firm. Thanks, Carla.
Thank you.
So, again, I've known you personally for a long time, and there's a couple of things you do, I think, that are exceptional in terms of your success, but also in terms of your happiness, is that you're really good at manifesting things, which is a mindset. And then you're also really good about adjusting your thoughts through affirmation. Mm-hmm. And I know some people look at this as new agey bullshit, but it works.
It works.
So let's talk about mindset, manifesting what you want in your life. Do you have any stories that you could share with us?
I have so many, and mindset is absolutely my favorite subject to talk about, because there's 3 things that make you successful in real estate, as far as I'm concerned, and it's mindset, skills, and action. mindset is, gratitudes, affirmations, anything positive. And I said earlier, you eliminate don't not know, so what do you want?
I love that. That's a great.
I mean, it's such a strong, and it's so powerful. We could have somebody walk in this room and you could feel their vibe without saying a word. You feel people's energy. So you want to make sure that when you're looking at people, you want to connect with them. So you'll like this. So one of the things I just shared recently is one of the best ways to connect with someone, and I do it now even in Kroger's, is look at them and try and figure out what color their eyes are.
That makes sense.
And when you do that, feel the difference.
Yeah.
You feel the difference.
It's
They're looking at
intense.
you, it's intense. But people like, and then I'll go, well, so what's your name? And they look at me like, well, my name's Sandy. And I often, because I'm an astrologer, I ask when their birthday is, and they just big smile and tell me. I had a waitress once. She came and said, I'm so sorry I made you wait. I said, oh, no, you don't need to apologize. It's fine. She's I'm at Ohio State and I'm just graduating. I said, well, what do you want to do? So she starts talking. I said, I want you to remember 3 things. Eliminate, don't, not, and know. What do you want? Focus on that and you'll create it. So we get ready to pay. She brings a receipt and she's written a note. Thank you so much for sharing. This has changed my life. I will always remember this.
You were telling me about when you were when you were a flight attendant, and a woman was having a hard time meeting any men.
Yes.
So why don't you share that story with
That was
us?
such a great story. So she was complaining, I just can't meet anyone. I'm never going to get married. She was complaining, and blah, blah, blah. So I said, all right, Susie, we need to do an affirmation because affirmations will shift your energy. So what we're going to do is write an affirmation. So she put, I'm an irresistible magnet attracting men now. So I said, you write it 10 times, twice a day, and see what happens. So we come back a week later, she came storming. Sandy, come on, you've got to help me. This is out of control. I said, what are you talking about? Men are coming up to me in the grocery store, at the bus stop. I mean, it's like insane. So we changed the affirmation is, I am attracting my perfect mate now. And in 6 months, she was engaged.
That's a pretty good story.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good story, and it works.
It does work.
And say how, I feel like you could use that same affirmation for real estate. I attract the ideal seller.
All right, so I have an affirmation for that. And,
Great.
one of my agents used it, and she got business that afternoon. So I'm an irresistible magnet filled with love, attracting a highly motivated buyer and or seller now. It's unbelievable.
The now's a key part of it, isn't
It's
it?
very, and I've even added when people have been a little bit difficult that love and that appreciate me in there because what you put out there, you create.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
It is amazing. My next question, and maybe my last question for you, is
Okay.
what brings you joy?
Connecting with people, like I said, with the eyes and seeing them smile. My dad used to say everything is a cry for love or an extension of love. So and my word last year was appreciate, and I had so much fun using that word. I appreciate your help today. Thank you so much. And you just can't believe that word is a powerful word for people, particularly when you say it and you look them in the eye. Hey, I really appreciate you coming, Patrick. It was so nice of you to think of me and come here today. I really thank you.
You know, one of the things I learned from Dr. Fred, if you start looking at everybody as an incarnate angel, see how your interactions with them change. So, like, I heard that and I said, I'll try it. And I can remember like going to a fast food chain like McDonald's, and I specifically went up to the counter thinking, this is an incarnate angel who's going to take my order. And you could tell, like, her demeanor shifted immediately when she was talking to me. It works. It
works
sounds
so-
like airy fairy stuff. But
I know, it's not airy-fairy. Another thing I love to remember is a miracle is a shift in perception. All
It's
that
true.
takes is a little willingness to see the same situation with new eyes. So sometimes when you're upset at a seller or a coworker or something, just take a deep breath and say, okay, I'm willing to see this differently. I'm willing to see this through a higher power's eyes. I need help. And that willingness is amazing.
that was a pearl right there.
Oh, it's so powerful, and it really works.
I think we're going to end on that pearl.
Okay.
Sandy, I hope you know I love you.
Oh, thank you. I love you too, Patrick.
And
This is great.
this was a real joy getting to spend time with you and your team.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that very much.
I really enjoyed this interview with Sandy. I hope you did too. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next month.